Hello, hello. I apologize. I'm a few minutes late. I um was unable to find my phone after dropping the kids off at school and I needed to know where it was. So, emergencies and stuff. Let me see if I can pull up the um stream. The hearing is supposed to start at 9:30, I believe. If not, oops. All right, let's see. Um, Today again is the hearing for consideration of a retrial for Alec Murdaugh. And I believe one juror was already interviewed, questioned, whatever, by Justice Toll um, on Friday, I think, because of scheduling issues, which I didn't really know about. So I haven't listened to the audio or anything like that. And then today, I believe, are supposed to be the other 11 remaining jurors and Miss Hill. I don't know how much we'll get through today. Let me see if I can pull this up. Evidentiary hearing. Okay. Let me see if I can share my screen. Here we go, here we go, here we go. There we are. I'm a little bit in the corner. So nothing's happening right now. I believe it's supposed to begin at 9:30. Um, pardon me. And I'm not on camera today because, life. But let me see if I can pull up any information in regards to the juror that was interviewed. Again, Justice Toll will be interviewing the jurors. I believe she interviewed one already on Friday. And who knows how quickly they'll go through things today. I'm assuming since they can't talk to the egg lady, the juror that was dismissed, um, I'm believing that it doesn't look too good for the defense team, and I don't know. I don't think it'll. I don't think it'll be what it was. And especially since Justice Toll said that they being the defense have to prove not only that the clerk spoke to the jurors, but that about the trial, but that um their decision was influenced by what she said. So it's not as simple as A, did the clerk of court speak to them? B, did she speak to them about the trial? And C, did what she said about the trial influence their decision? Um, so we shall see. So far, it's just a bunch of nothing. Yeah, here we go. Single juror. Maybe we can listen to that while we're waiting. Single juror testifies. I did not know that was happening because I'm not, even though I'm a little, pardon me, even though I am, sorry, I'm super distracted this morning. A whole bunch of things have gone wrong this morning, including I really wanted to be at the hearing today, but I wasn't able to go because of scheduling conflict. But here. Let's see what I can pull up. And I'm going to pull up a couple things and we'll see how it goes. Let me see if I can share this as well. For now, have that up. Have this up.
Murdaugh and his fight for a new trial. We learn more about how it's going to play out next week. Murdaugh was convicted last year of killing his wife and son.
But his attorneys claim the clerk of court in Colleton County tampered with the jury. Our Sam Perez was in court here in Columbia. Former Chief Justice Jean Toll got her first chance to question a juror.
We were in the courtroom for just about 45 minutes, with Justice Toll questioning the juror for about 15 minutes. Before things got started, Justice Toll spoke with the media and asked us not to report on any of the questions she asked the juror or any of the responses. We're also asked not to report on characteristics of the juror to keep them anonymous. Justice Toll tells us this is an effort to make sure the other 11 jurors.
I do really appreciate that. Again, I never got to deliberate on a trial, but I was the juror number 13. And, you know, especially when it's something like a violent crime, I'd just rather not be identified. And I think that will help future jurors feel more comfortable in serving so that they can remain as anonymous as possible. Let's see, that other one's not up yet. All right, I'm not really sure what they're going to say. I'm going to continue to play this for a little bit since technically they couldn't report on what was asked or what the juror said. So I'm not really sure what this news coverage
set to testify on Monday. Don't see any news coverage ahead of time that might influence their testimony.
This procedure is unique in that typically issues like this raised immediately after the verdict. And we are now almost in the verdict. This is a very situation for you and you preside over.
A single juror testified ahead of next week's hearing because that person had a scheduling conflict and couldn't come to Columbia next week. Murdaugh's attorneys say Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill made comments to try and influence the jury to convict Murdaugh. Toll is expected to ask each juror one by one about their interactions with Hill.
One thing they're sitting in the jury box, now they're sitting in the witness box.
Attorney Eric Bland escorted the single juror throughout the day. Bland is representing 5 jurors during this evidentiary hearing.
My part of my representation is to make sure that these jurors get in and out, they speak their conscience, and they get back to their regular lives.
Bland says that he was pleased with how Friday's questioning went and said it was in line with the rules Toll set previously for this hearing.
We don't want jurors to be asked about their verdict a year after a trial took place, or even 2 years, or even a couple weeks. We want them to know that they have rendered a verdict based on their conscience, based on the testimony, based on the evidence, and based on the judge's instructions.
That is what Toll is trying to find out when she brings the rest of the jurors in on Monday. Toll says she also plans.
Okay, I thought it would give a little bit more insight, but since the judge said, basically no reporting, which it seems like a lot of people have actually adhered to, thank goodness. There's really not much to report. I'm trying to read another article to see. Oh, you can see when I'm scrolling. Get rid of that real quick. We're just waiting for the hearing to begin. So far, it's just the sealing from Court TV. I want to play like Luna Shark, but I don't want them to think I'm trying to use them to get more viewers for my stream. I just like them better. Let's see. So, where did the other one go? I wonder if we'll be able to hear anything then, which is kind of another reason I wanted to go to the hearing, but scheduling, logistics, whatever. Kids, got to take care of those guys. So I was not able to go, unfortunately. And it's a lot closer to me than Hampton County. So I'm a little bummed that I couldn't go. I was interested to hear the testimony and also interested to just hear as much water cooler talk that I could from people like Eric Bland. I wanted to see Mandy Matney and Liz Farrell if they were going to be there. Just different people like Lori. Oh, her name is so hard to say. Lori, the attorney from the Columbia area who has kind of inserted herself, it seems, into, hey, Nikki, how are you? Into the whole Murdaugh attorney squabble saga. And it seems like Lori is representing the family of someone that Eric is representing, I don't know if it's suspect or victim, from like a violent crime that happened here in South Carolina. So that's interesting as well. Interesting that, I don't know, she claims that he always wants attention and clout from the media. He likes the spotlight, but she doesn't seem very shy from it either. He has been on Court TV, I believe, a few times. And there's nothing wrong with giving your expert commentary, but what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander, you know? Just seems a little hypocritical, in my opinion. But yeah, I wanted to be there to just hear all of their side conversations. And I wonder if we can see any of them there. Oh, I see the one guy. Yep, there's Lori in the black blazer and white shirt, kind of behind the Alex left shoulder. Can't see her there. She's kind of where the police officer is standing. There she is. Why does he look so chipper? I don't think this is going to go your way, buddy. I don't think it's going to go your way. They don't have audio yet. See if I can pull this up a little bit more. There we go. Maybe not. That didn't really work. Yeah, it did. You know, unfortunately, it was kind of decided for me because of kids. Oddly enough, someone I know that helps out with us, she is doing something in the legal system today, not there. And then my husband is out of state at the moment, so I wouldn't have anybody to pick up the kids from school. Columbia is a lot closer to me than Hampton County, but it's still about an hour and 45 minutes from Greenville. And, you know, if the hearing still continues tomorrow, there's a greater chance that I can go. But after hearing that Justice Toll interviewed one juror on Friday, and it was only about 15 minutes, I don't see this going very long. Is that guy asleep on the end? Is he taking a little snoozy nap? A little nappy? A little snoozy? So again, I'm kind of bummed. Ooh, is that the lady? Oh my gosh, that worked for PMPED and the glasses behind. What's her name? Janice? Can't remember. I think that might be her. The one that called Alec out. She's more like the accountant at the firm. Is that her? It looked like her. And again, there's good old lawyer Lori right over there. There is so much spectacle and circus that's been going on since the trial has ended, between the lady directly behind Alec right now, the brunette white lady. Mandy Matney, Eric Bland, Will Folks, just a whole bunch of nastiness and rumors, that sort of thing. So it's just, those are kind of the players and the thing that I was interested in seeing and hearing. But I really, 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 really did not want to be on TV or see Alec Murdaugh in person. Didn't really want any of that, or Harpootlian or Griffin, honestly. I think those are interesting folks. I'll say that. Interesting folks. Seems like the sleazy side of the legal system, the opportunist side of the legal system is made itself more apparent since the trial has ended. That's what it seems to be to me. But I wish I could be there. I don't know that that's her. That looked like her, but ooh, gosh, that scared me for a second. I thought they had a one of the jurors in the witness box up there. Here's the Attorney General. I believe that's what his title is. My husband's going to kill me because I think he's in the National Guard as well. There's Creighton Waters. One of our South Carolina celebrities now. He's even been crocheted. Oh, there's Stephen Smith's mom in the background. See, that's somebody I would just love to have, like, hugged her neck, Even, I don't know if that would have been appropriate, and I don't know if I would have, but had the opportunity presented itself and it felt appropriate, then I would have. Yeah, he's been crocheted. So has Judge Newman. I can't remember if Mandy's been crocheted or not. During the trial, a lady in South Carolina who crochets, she made dolls of all of them. I don't know. It's It sounds weirder than I think it actually was. She didn't make one of Alec or any of the bad guys, but it was just she would crochet during the trial, and she's like, why not just... She wasn't present at the trial while watching it at home, and she would crochet. Let me see if I can pull up her information. I followed her on Twitter. Oh yeah, and she also crocheted Bubba and the chicken. I'm telling you, this is our own, like, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Let's see. I'm gonna stop sharing this for just a second so I can show you. There's no audio yet anyway, so. Oh, it's not the one that I wanted to share. Hold on, sorry. There it is. There's Creighton Waters, Judge Newman, Bubba and the chicken, and is that, what was his name? The forensic investigator with the stick. So that's them. She crocheted them all. Oh my goodness. It's 9:44. Yes, the trial, or the hearing, I keep calling it the trial, but it's not a trial. Again, it's an evidentiary hearing for the potential to have another trial for Alec Murdaugh. But it was supposed to begin at 9:30. So I wonder why it's not starting. Maybe some jurors aren't there yet. I know traffic into Columbia, that's our state capital, can be hectic in the mornings anyway. And then I'm sure with all the media attention, there's multiple traffic jams. I don't know what you want to call it. But who knows when this will start? And from the reports of the one juror who was interviewed by Justice Toll on Friday, I don't really know if we're going to be able to hear anything as viewers, because maybe we will now today, since I'm assuming the other 11 are there. I think one of the reasons that she requested that no one report on the questions that were asked and, you know, the responses of the juror were so that there would not be any influence on the juror's testimony today. So I feel for those jurors. I can't imagine going through all of that, being under a microscope, even if you're not on camera, you're being watched by everyone in the galley for 6 weeks by both the state and defense, and think you're done and finished with your service, and it turns out you're now on the witness stand. So Justice Toll has explained that she will be doing the questioning, And the questions to be asked will not have anything to do with how the jurors came up with their verdict. I guess there's some sanctity, if you will, in being able to come up with that decision. Of course, it can't have external influence. Someone not in the jury influencing that. And technically, before they deliberate, it can't have internal influence either. So. But I guess as far as what they were thinking or feeling coming up with that decision, that's not going to be asked. It's just, did Becky Hill, the clerk of court, say anything to you in regard to the trial? And then if she did it influence your decision? So I guess not only do they have to prove that she said something about the trial itself to them, it also has to be proven that what she said influenced them. This is where I've got two things with this. One that I'll get back on is this uproar of if she said anything to the jurors at all. Okay, I believe those are the attorneys for the jurors coming in. And I can't remember. Is the white-haired guy the attorney for Becky Hill? Those are people from the state. That guy going behind the desk. Creighton Waters, Attorney General. See, I could have been way back there in that little box up there. Okay, so that wasn't the lady from PMPED. Thought it was. Go ahead, smile for the camera, Lori. You know you want to. That's not nice. I wish I was there. Oh, but what was I saying? So I was talking about whether or not the clerk of court spoke with the jurors. First of all, that's allowed, but I will get back to that. The thing that I kind of disagree with Justice Toll is personally, I believe if anyone said something to the jurors regarding the trial, then there is more reason for him to have another trial, as much as that pains me to say. I don't see any way that, I mean, personally, yes, I believe you can hear something like that and still not be swayed. Like, oh, make sure you check out his body language and make sure you check out this and make sure you check out that. Okay. Pardon me. I think someone can still be unbiased and that not influence their verdict. But if we want to stick to like the definition of there not being any jury tampering, I consider that pretty heavy on the side of evidence of jury tampering. I think if not, we're getting too much in the weeds of being subjective. Right. All right, I'm going to mute myself now.
Good morning. Please be seated.
I love Justice Toll. She seems like a bad bitch. Almost southern, a bad southern bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I now address these remarks to the members of the press. You have not been completely in accord with what I asked you to do last Friday. You've all done me the great favor of obeying what I asked you to do with respect to the identity of the jurors, and I thank you very much for that. The first order of business after I give some preliminary remarks will be the examination one by one of the jurors. And what will happen is I will bring all of the jurors in to begin with, and they will be seated. I will make remarks to the entire panel. I will then ask that the jury be taken to their jury room, and I will one by one call the jurors and address them. And I will address them by a letter that I have developed rather than their number. Now, I realize full well that many of you who attended this trial for many, many weeks probably know these jurors. And I'm not making any further statement about what you do or don't do in terms of identifying the jurors. But I don't want any photographs taken of the jurors by the media. With respect to the rest of the audience, if you have devices, cell phones, iPads, or anything of that nature, please silence them. Please do not use them. The press is allowed to use their devices in order to make notes, but the press is not making any photographs either. I have a pool photographer as well as a pool court TV arrangement, and that's what will be used to photograph, and those materials will of course be fed and available to the press. I think if there's anything else. All right. All right. The jurors are in place in the jury room, Mr. Bailey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Bring me the jurors.
Please report, Your Honor, prior to bringing that jury in, that has something on the
All right. Sure. Hold for a minute. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, you have a list of questions you have distributed to us.
Yes, sir.
And of course, you went through those with jurors.
Oh, Lord.
C. Or X.
X. I knew it was one of those.
Yeah.
Last one.
Yeah.
Juror X. The third
Number
question
you say,
did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any
Hill
comments about the merits of this case before your verdict?
Yes, sir.
And clearly the juror didn't understand what the word merits meant.
I disagree with that, but you may make your record about that. I think the juror understood what was being asked. And frankly, in some of the materials that we've exchanged back and forth about questions, you yourself have used the word merit. So I don't think she was confused.
Well, Your Honor, occasionally I make a mistake. I think in this case, perhaps you've made a mistake. And if you would just respectfully use the words, did make any comment about the case before your verdict, just leaves out their judgment about merits, because they don't know if merits is a legal word.
Is he for real telling her what she can and can't say?
Say into account, but I have already examined one juror using that term, and you now say that that term confused the juror. You have that on the record, and certainly would be able to argue that to any of the appellate courts that review what I do here. But my intention is to use the language that I use with the juror I've already
Did
argued.
that asshole just tell a
Request,
justice?
which elaborated on what that meant. And certainly, after you asked that question, we think that clarified it, and you could use merits or anything else about the case and deal with both issues. I just think it's going to require us, based on statements that these jurors have given to SWAD, to ask very specific questions.
I understand what you're asking. Let me ask you this, Mr. Harpootlian. Do you happen to have the transcript of Friday's proceedings?
Uh-oh.
State, do you all happen to have a transcript of Friday's proceedings?
Your Honor, we're looking right now.
Belay that. I've got a copy. Let me look at it for a minute to see what I did in clarification. And so just pause for a minute. Let me look at that.
I cannot believe that Harpootlian just told a justice what language she can use or what she can't. That's some big old balls. I mean, they're doing stalling tactics, I'm sure. This is very interesting. Okay, but didn't that guy, I wrote this. There's one guy way up in this upper level of the gallery. He looks like Flow Rider. So, I know it's not him, but it definitely looks like him. What's that lady doing? Now's not a time to go to the bathroom, lady. Where are you going? Find your seat.
I look at this transcript and the only thing I know.
Wait, there's
Did she say where's that?
I said this. I asked the attorneys for any further commentary about the questions I asked, and I have been asked to ask one more question. I'm going to do this. I'm going to read you a memorandum by the state to counsel for the defense and then ask you about it, all right?
I don't want to talk.
And then here's what I read. Per Chief Attorney Waters, please be advised that the attorney for Juror X has told us that his client says that prior to the defendant's testimony, his client did hear Clerk Hill say words to the effect of, quote, looks like the defendant is going to testify. This is an important day, close quote. Or, quote, this is an epic day, close quote. And that there was some statement that it was rare for a defendant to testify. And then I said, Juror X, can you verify that what I've read is something you heard and told your attorney? And she says, yes, ma'am. Very good. Do these statements have any impact on your verdict? No, ma'am. Very good. I will ask that question. I didn't change well, I've read you what I asked. I will be glad to do that again.
Your Honor, different jurors say different things based on the memorandums we received.
I won't say you told your attorney or anything like that, but I'll ask about that statement having been made.
Your Honor, just for the record, we believe the term merits is a term of art, just as if you asked him, was there probable cause? Again, or anything else, we're not asking you to open Pandora's box.
I hear what you say, and I will take it into account.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Waters, anything on your behalf?
Not anything further, Your Honor.
Thanks, sir.
We believe the term is self-explanatory, you jackass. Justice told somebody I would love to sit on like a porch and have some sweet tea and just talk to. Her accent to me has a little bit of
Just so you know, Mr. Harpootlian,
Georgia in it.
I'll have to go to my screen to do this other, but I will. The third question we'll read. Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before the verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's what I'll ask. All right. All right, Mr. Bailiff, bring me the jury.
I wonder, it sounds like she's going to question them all at once. I wonder if they're having PTSD. Here it is a year later.
Yes.
1 year ago, Back at it again. Not really and technically, but I don't know. It seemed to me that Justice Toll basically said, yeah, I didn't really ask the question that way. So I think we're good. Hmm.
It's the same thing except without
Yeah.
Ooh, whose microphone can we hear?
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the State versus Murdaugh jury. I wanted to make a few opening remarks to you before I question each of you about the matter. You have done absolutely nothing wrong. None of you, not any of you. You didn't ask to serve, but you served and did your duty.
That's cool of her to say.
This was an unusually difficult trial because of its length. 6 weeks is almost unheard of in South Carolina as the length of a case. It was difficult because of the intense publicity and public interest in the case. It was difficult because of the complexity of testimony and exhibits in the case. And you acquitted yourself honorably. So this question today is not about anything you did wrong. Please be assured of that. I respect you and I respect your service. Today, I'm going to ask you to do something that's difficult. This case is unique. Most of the time, if there's some issue about improper conduct or contact with a juror, it comes up immediately. The judge puts questions to the juror and perhaps to the person who may have made a improper comment, and then you go on to verdict. Or sometimes it's very shortly after the verdict is rendered. And again, the judge questions the affected jurors and the supposed interference and makes a ruling right then and there on either a new trial or a mistrial. Now, here, we are almost a year after your beginning of service on this case. And that makes it mighty difficult for you to do something I'm going to ask you to do, and it's this. Today, I ask you to focus your attention. What is that? Mr. Bailiff, what is that noise? Is that the sound system doing that?
I believe it's the port sound system.
This is the funkiest sound system in the world, so you just have to keep up with it. I've had trouble in every case I've ever tried with the sound system. So, yeah,
I love how she
jurors,
said that.
if something happens and the sound system goes haywire, we'll stop for a minute until it stops. Now, as I was saying, I want you to focus your attention as you answer the questions I'm going to ask you on your 6 weeks of experience as a juror in this case, and on the point in the trial where the judge charged you, and on your verdict as you rendered it on March the 2nd, 2023. That's what I want the focus to be. And again, I know I'm asking a lot to have you cast yourself back into that time, but that's what the questions I'm asking are about that time and not about this time. There has been so much drama about this matter since the verdict was rendered. And my heart goes out to everyone, the lawyers and you who are in this trial. That I can't help. But I've been asked by the Supreme Court to take a look at this issue. The appeal is on pause until I do. and I've got to do my duty as I see it, and you do yours as I know you see it. So I thank you very much in advance for, again, the terrible inconvenience of calling you all back together now. But it's very essential to completing the record about this case.
I wonder if they're compensated for today.
As it needs to be. So in
Because they're not
advance,
jurors.
what I'm going to do now
They're
is
witnesses.
dismiss you to the jury room, and one by one, I will call you, and I will refer to you by a letter that I have just assigned you. It isn't your jury room. It certainly isn't your name. You know, these people in the media saw y'all on the trial. They probably know who you are. But I'm trying to do my duty as I see it when I make your appearance here anonymous to the record. And only the clerk, the court reporter will have a sealed document by me indicating what the key means in terms of your juror number and your name. So I'm doing everything I can do about this matter. But it goes without saying that your business is your own business. You don't have to interview with a soul, not lawyers, not media, not anyone after this matter. That choice is purely yours. And I will respect that and protect that to the best I can if anything comes up afterwards. All right, you may go to the jury room.
I agree, but I don't know if they will be because they're witnesses in this instance. So that's a really tricky situation.
All right, Mr. Bailiff, bring me juror Z.
One other matter.
Yes.
One of the individuals sitting in the jury box called this the next jury liar publicly. I'd ask that that be Mr. Bland and his partner, cohort, not sit behind her or near her while she's testifying.
I
object.
Well,
Your Honor, I object to him speaking.
One moment. We're not going to have a big colloquy about this. Keep your seat for a moment, Mr. Harper.
Yes, Your Honor.
Bland, you do the same. Mr. Bender, is there a seat over next to you?
There is.
Mr. Bland, will you go over and sit next to Mr. Bender, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He is trying so hard to make this a circus, but she's
For the record, I have some people in the jury box. Two of them are SLED agents. One of them is the media consultant, and one of them is attorney for several of the jurors, Mr. Bland. And that's being done at my direction.
Hey, Justice, told you have Scott Mongillo, Blaine Richter, also in the jury box.
Very good. Yes, sir. That's fine. All right. Bring me juror Z.
and see, it's my opinion, like what was said earlier. If Becky Hill did say something like, I guess he's going to be testifying today, that's never heard of, blah, 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 blah. You're literally, we were told that we couldn't even discuss what anybody was wearing in the courtroom. We couldn't talk about the attorneys, the people in the gallery.
Juror Z, you may take the witness box after you are sworn.
Nothing.
Step over here to the clerk and she will administer the oath.
We were really, really creative about the things that we talked about, especially when we had our 15-minute breaks in the jury room. But we did it. So, yeah, I mean, technically, that could be grounds for another trial, in my opinion.
And there are no right or wrong answers. The truth is what I seek, and that is the truth of what you experienced in relation to these questions at the State versus Murdaugh trial. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. That verdict was read in open court by the foreperson of the jury. And then the court said this: Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, let it be known by raising your hand. The transcript then indicates that the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? And each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate statement about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
If yes, what did Ms. Hill say?
To watch his actions.
To watch his actions. What else?
To watch him closely.
To watch him closely. Anything else you remember?
There it is, but I can't remember.
Okay, that's fine. And was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023, in any way with any influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
All right. Was your verdict influenced in any way by the communications of the clerk of court in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And how was it influenced?
What the fuck?
To me, it felt like she made it seem like he was already guilty.
All right. And I understand that. That's the tenor of the remarks she made. Did that affect your finding of guilty in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Wow.
Be at ease. Those are my questions submitted to the juror. Are there any reactions?
Wow.
If there are, and you would like
I'm
to
so
voice them,
fucking
I can
pissed.
ask the juror
Sorry
to
for
retire
your
to the
ears.
jury room. Just tell me whether I need to do that.
I'm so fucking pissed. I'm so fucking pissed. Pardon me.
We need to put some things on the record.
All right. Take the juror to the jury room, please.
Is it bad that I'm kind of pissed at this juror? Like, if that were the case, why didn't you say something beforehand? You just wasted everyone's fucking time. Yes, she wasn't the one that said something. She didn't do anything wrong, but you're supposed to fucking speak up.
Mr. Waters.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, in the affidavit that was given by this particular juror, paragraph 10 said, I have questions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt, but I vote guilty because I felt pressured by the other jurors. We would request an inquiry as to that, which is how when this motion was filed, she expressed the basis for her verdict, which obviously this answer is a little different now. So we would request a brief inquiry from the court as to that specific issue.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Clerk,
Your Honor, as to
Holy fuck.
two things. The first thing is correct. She gave an affidavit. We would ask Your Honor to let her read her affidavit to refresh her memory of, she said other things. They're very detailed in here. We'd ask you to, and let me hand up to the court a copy of her affidavit and ask you to have her read it before she's asked any other.
What I have here from Mr. Waters, for the record, Mr. Waters, what I've been handed for the record is something, affidavit of juror, now referred to as Z. It was taken August the 14th, 2023. It was sworn before Holly Miller, paralegal for Mr. Harpootlian, and he would like for me to give that to the juror and ask her to read it and then ask her about it. I'm inclined to do that, but I want to hear from you first.
Your Honor, again, if they want to refresh the recollection, that's fine with the state, so we have no objection to that.
Very good. It will be done.
Your Honor, also we would ask that you not ask the question that Mr. Waters asked you to ask, because it violates 606B.
Holy crap. Again,
provides
this is South Carolina's Midnight in the Garden of Good Evil. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can't be my friend.
What was the question he asked?
If you look at that affidavit,
It's paragraph 10, Your Honor.
paragraph 10,
It's in the very affidavit.
she said she was influenced by other jurors.
Yeah, I'm going to ask her about that. I'm going to give her the affidavit and then I'm going to question her about it.
And we would, for the record, indicate that we object to that under 606B.
Your Honor, from our perspective, she's put an
And
issue.
you're the one that asked me to have her look at this affidavit, but you telling me I can't question about it? I deny that objection.
Your Honor, if it's something that's inadmissible, you should not ask her about it. And
Well,
that's
you want me
inadmissible.
to admit it and have her examined
No, I
on it.
want you to have her read it to refresh her memory.
We're quibbling, Mr. Harper, we're quibbling about things that I'm not going to take time to quibble about. My ruling is pursuant to your request, I am going to allow the juror to examine her affidavit, and then I'm going to question her about it. That's my ruling. Your objection is overruled.
For the record, I just want to note, Your Honor, just for the record,
You noted 606. I hear you noted.
and in no way waiving anything or opening any door by asking you to let her examine.
That's for a higher court than me to decide.
Well, I understand that, and that's why I want to make sure when they read this transcript, there's no confusion. I'm not asking you to put that into evidence. I'm asking you to
Well,
let
I
the
don't
jury
see
judge.
how in the world I can question the juror about something and not put it into evidence. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Mr. Harpootlian. You could have been very satisfied with the answers that were already given, but you have chosen to ask about this.
Request.
Denied.
Your Honor, all the time we ask witnesses to examine a prior statement.
Mr. Harpootlian, I made my ruling. Please take your seat. All right, bring me juror Z.
Dick is such a dick.
Get me another.
Appropriately named.
Yeah.
This is absolutely effing insane. I'm now going to use the word quibble. I am fond of that word. We are quibbling about things I'm not willing to quibble about. I am so pissed. I am so pissed. Again, I just don't know. I think the time to say something like this was when Judge Newman was like, is this your verdict and your verdict alone? Like, he pulled every single juror. He does look smug. I mean,
Madam Juror, you gave an affidavit to a representative of Mr. Haputman on August 14th, 2023. And I have this in my hand at the present time. And I'm going to hand it to you. And I'm going to ask that you read it.
He seemed awfully chipper this morning, so I guess I knew this was coming.
You're going to see four little boxes on this affidavit. They are your name and the
I don't
name
see
of
how
the
he can't have
judge.
another trial
I
at
will
this point.
strike that out before it appears in the record, just so you understand.
Insane. Thank you for using my tax dollars for this. I'm sitting here, two of my neighbors, I'm basically their liaison through this, updating them. And yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
We got a group text on this. So they're at work and I'm letting them know. Man. Let's see. Murdaugh has plenty of assets, correct? A lot of things were sold off, and there's like a lot of people who are in line to include several of his victims who are owed money first before he has any. He does not have access to his funds if there are any left, which there's been speculation that, you know, where did all the money go that he swindled? Because it doesn't seem, you know, he claims that he had a significant substance issue and that's where a lot of his money went. People have questioned.
First paragraph, of course, is a statement that you were a juror in the case. Second paragraph says, toward the end of the trial after the President's Day break, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified, the clerk of court, Rebecca Hill, told the jury, quote, not to be fooled, unquote, by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys, which I understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when he testifies. Is that what your recollection is of that statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything in the statement that on reflection you think is not correct?
No, ma'am.
All right. Number 3, she also instructed the jury to, quote, watch him closely, quote, immediately before he testified, including, quote, look at his actions, quote, and, quote, look at his movements, quote, which I understood to mean he was guilty. Is that an accurate recitation of your view of the matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Number 4, paragraph 4. Immediately after he testified, the foreperson said Mr. Murdaugh was crying on cue. Is that an accurate statement of what you saw and heard?
Yes, ma'am.
5, the foreperson criticized the former foreperson for handing Mr. Murdaugh a box of tissues when he was crying on the stand while testifying about his murdered son. She told the jury, we cannot interact with Mr. Murdaugh because that's what the defense wants us to do. Do you still stand by that recitation of that conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Number 6, the jury frequently discussed the case during breaks before deliberation. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Number 7, toward the end of the trial, Ms. Hill came into the jury room a lot Is that your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hill and the foreperson had private conversations on multiple occasions. The foreperson would tell the bailiff that she needed to speak with Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill would arrive, and then she and the foreperson would go to another room for a private conversation. The conversations typically lasted 5 to 10 minutes. The foreperson never said anything about the content of the conversation. For example, she never communicated logistical information after these conversations. This happened 2 or more times, more frequently towards the end of the trial. Is that still your recollection of the interaction?
Yes, ma'am.
9. When we began deliberations, Ms. Hill told us this shouldn't take us long, quote. And if we deliberated past 11 p.m., we would be taken directly to a hotel. We had driven from our homes that morning and were not prepared to stay overnight. Additionally, smokers on the jury asked to be allowed to take smoke breaks, but they were told they could not smoke until after the deliberations were complete. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
Including the business about the smokers?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Number 10, I had questions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt, but voted guilty because I felt pressured by the other jurors. Is that an accurate statement about your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. After the verdict and immediately before sentencing, Ms. Hill pressured the jury to speak as a group to reporters from a television show. Is that an accurate statement of what she said?
Yes, ma'am.
And did some jurors decline to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, I really don't understand why the jurors didn't say something when Newman was pulling each of them. Yeah, Becky Hill, if this proves to be true, I mean, these jurors are testifying under oath, so I wouldn't assume that they're lying. What a piece of poo. I'm furious.
Juror Z, I asked you previously, was your verdict on March 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way by communications from Becky Hill, the clerk of court? You answered that question, yes. In light of what you said in the affidavit, which is I had questions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt, but voted guilty because I felt pressured by the other jurors. Is that answer that I just read a more accurate statement of how you felt?
Yes.
Overruled.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you do stand by the affidavit?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Thank you. All right. You may go to the jury room. And let me just explain to you what the procedure will be. I'm calling the rest of the jurors, of course, one by one. When I'm finished with that, I will bring you out as a group one more time, and then you're free to leave. You don't have to stay. Okay? Very good. You may go to the jury room. What's that?
Before this juror is excused, but after she steps out, I'd like to address the court.
All right. You may be excused.
Why would the clerk of court, who's been, sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. Why would a clerk of court, who's been a clerk of court for a long time, say anything like that? Anything.
Use of the court's exhibit.
That's good. What I'm going to try to do is redact as I did in the as you did in the document that you sent me.
Wasted
Identifying things.
everyone's time.
Oh, good. That's great. That would be wonderful. Show it to Mr. Harpoon. Very good. Thank you. That's the one I would give to the court reporter, but I think you can see that I asked off of it. This is the court's exhibit. Court's exhibit 3.
Your Honor, just to be clear, that does still have the juror numbers in it. It does not have the letters.
What I'd ask you to do, Elizabeth, is take off the juror numbers, strike them through, and then where it says affidavit of juror, give the number.
So, Stephen, I believe it has been at least 2 jurors. This one who just testified.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we objected to the questioning because this juror just gave 2 statements under oath, one in an affidavit and one here to you today. The one here today was Becky Hill influenced her verdict. The one she gave in an affidavit 6 months ago was based on juror. It could be both. Your Honor picked out the one in the affidavit from 6 months ago and said, is that a more accurate statement? That presupposes and suggests to her what she should say. And we believe that this juror's testimony, and Your Honor, I'm afraid what you're going to say is, well, she said the affidavit was more accurate than what she testified under oath here today, and therefore I'm not going to consider her testimony. And I think that's where we're heading here. I'd ask you, bring her back in, explain to her there's nothing wrong with it both being true.
I decline to do that and overrule the objection. All right. Mr. Bailiff? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Nikki. Okay, so there's also another allegation by a juror who people have coined the Egg Lady. She was a juror, but she was dismissed before deliberating. It was toward the end of this trial. I think there was still like a couple days left, maybe 1 or 2 days left. So Justice Toll has decided to not include her testimony. She is only including the testimony of those who deliberated. So even though she gave an affidavit that the clerk of court said things about the trial, her testimony is not being admitted. So I'm going to mute again because I'm echoing.
Counsel, I have to report this to you, and I'm very, very unhappy about it, but there's nothing to do but put it on the record, and then I will proceed with questioning the rest of the jurors. The jurors' cell phones were not confiscated or taken from them, and they tuned this thing in on court TV and listened to all of what just went on. So you may make whatever statements you like to make, and then I'm going to go on and question the jurors. I will tell you in advance, I am not going to stop the proceedings or do anything to interrupt. I'm going to get the rest of this on the record. You might imagine that they no longer have their cell phones with them.
5-minute recess. What we put on the record? I mean, this is.
I'm not going to take all day on this. I report things as they come to me. I will give you a couple minutes, and then we're going to. They were late getting here. I didn't get to start on time like I wanted to, so I need to just calm down a little bit. But I tell you, don't take any long period of time. Court will be in recess for 5 minutes.
Holy shit. This is officially now a circus. This is insane. Absolutely freaking insane. Absolutely freaking insane. This is insane. I'm going to say this a couple times because I'm in shock. I'm in absolute shock. She took the necessary steps for her questions and the juror's answer on Friday to not be advertised so that today's testimony would not be influenced. And they sat back there in the jury room and watched it on their dang phones. Oh my God, do you think one of them was watching me? That would be like Inception. Steven, you're not a juror, are you? Oh my God. Oh my God. What the hell? I don't. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I just snorted. I don't really care. It's a shit show. What the absolute hell? Why would you think it would be okay to why would you think it would be okay to watch this? Why would you be okay? You're watching it in the courthouse, in the jury room. Why would you think that was okay? Steven, put your phone away. Don't talk to the other jurors. Absolute hell. Oh my gosh, this is legitimately insane. It's probably good that I'm not there because I have no poker face. I would be like my jaw would be hanging open. Oh my gosh. Absolutely insane. Steven, I appreciate your viewership, but literally, what are you doing, Steven? The fact that they pulled it up and watched it knowing why they're there says a lot about them. So what court allows phones? Well, they're not in a lot of courthouses allow phones. Oh Lord. They're not actual jurors, they're witnesses, and they're not there in the audience. They are back in the jury room. I've never been a witness, so I don't know how that works. But I would think it would be common freaking sense that I don't know. Who knows if they had instructions before testifying today. I know that Justice Toll gave the media instructions about what to report on and what not to in regard to Friday's interview. But did she give the jurors instruction? Can you give the jurors instruction at this point? Because again, they're not jurors at this hearing, they're witnesses. So I feel I'm having like such a surreal moment. Again, this feels like Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. He's going to get 15 trials. I'm flabbergasted. Yeah, I would be. You would see them. because me and Flo Rida would be like, did he just say, oh my God, what is happening? No. Jurors watching testimony of their own case. Yeah, technically, I mean, in previous, I guess maybe it's just assumed, but yeah, witnesses typically, when you testify, you're not supposed to watch anything, any other testimony beforehand. The fact that they were doing it while it was happening, weren't even hiding it or just sitting here doing it, is in the courthouse. They're watching it in the courthouse. They're watching it in the courthouse. This is insane. And again, I know I keep saying this, but this is absolutely insane. Oh, we're back now. Okay, let's see what happens. She said, I gotta go take an adult timeout right now because this shit.
Just a minute.
This shit is crazy. I don't really want this.
Now, you got to do something that I've already said I'm not going to allow to happen. And that is, you've got standing next to you a member of the team that represents the juror. And I can tell you, Mr. Harpootlian, I made a ruling early on that when Mr. McCullough was in court, when Mr. Bland was in court, that I was not going to allow the attorneys to participate in formulating the procedure for this hearing. But I have not, I indicated that I would not allow the lawyers for jurors to participate in this hearing. And so I'm not going to do that. I can just tell you that. And if what you want to do is by indirection, tell me what the lawyers for the juror would say, I'm not going to accept that.
Your Honor, my understanding is she'd like to approach to ask if the juror can be excused.
No, not yet.
Your Honor, I actually approached.
Now, Mr. McCullough can be excused. There's still plenty of you lawyers and you can do it. I didn't want him to come to begin with, so I love him dearly and he can go anytime. And I speak on behalf of Amy McCullough, his wife, when I tell you that.
Your Honor, I actually was here to let both of them know that I was going to ask to approach to talk about a security issue very quickly.
Well, come up here. Lord knows, I tell you what, Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong at the worst possible time, and Murphy was an optimist.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Man, I really wish I was there. I really wish I was there. I'm so sorry. I'm just like speechless by the whole thing. Here, I'm gonna put the link here if anybody wants to come up and join. I figure we're probably gonna have a lot of pauses, I guess, apparently. The judge said I'm out. Yeah. Just look at his gross, smug little face. I apologize that I keep saying this is insane, but I don't know what else to say. This is a spectacle. I feel like this makes mockery of the courtroom. Yeah, when we were talking about earlier, when I was saying I don't know if the judge or the justice, pardon me, said anything about sequestering the witnesses, I guess. I don't know what the right terminology is, but yeah, basically I guess this is a hearing and not an actual trial, so that maybe leaves some gray area, but how do you as a witness know, especially when Justice went to great lengths earlier to when she went to great lengths to make sure the testimony of the juror that was in court on Friday, that their testimony wasn't heard, so that none of the jurors testifying today would be influenced by the previous testimony. Why would you think it's okay? Why would you think it would be okay to sit there and watch the live coverage of the other witness testimony before you have testified? And all of those jurors are in a room together. So you're there with all the other witnesses. Which I don't know if that's a wise decision in and of itself. This is just an extremely unique situation, and I don't know if it's happened before, especially this far after a trial has happened. So maybe things are coming up that Justice Toll didn't even think of needing to or having to explain. Yeah, I wonder what the security issue is. I mean, I feel like now, especially since these folks are witnesses and not jurors, I would imagine that there are people who are less likely to respect the anonymity of the jurors. Someone needs a photo, someone needs a shot, someone needs and I don't mean PPU, I just mean camera. And I believe before at the hearing, they said they'd have the jurors come in a different way. But I know when I was a juror, I was in the same parking lot as the family members. And that became tricky at times.
Let me place upon the record two things. First of all,
Lord Jesus, what's going to happen now?
I have made certain now that a bailiff will be in the jury room with these jurors. Why that I announced that many times, that is the way it was to run. Why there wasn't a juror in the jury room is something I don't know, but I have asked that be followed rigidly. I've also asked, I don't go into jury rooms, never have and never will, but I asked the bailiff to tell the jurors that they are not to discuss any testimony that any of them are giving. I asked Juror Z whether she was comfortable, because I would be glad to place her in a separate room so that she's not set upon by the rest of the jurors. She gave me a big smile and said she was perfectly comfortable. And I said, at any time you're not comfortable, you simply tell me, and I will have you placed in either my office or another jury room. So that's where I left it with Juror Z. I think she's fine. I just wanted to make sure of that. And again, on the record, the conversation I had with her was outside the jury room. I don't go into the jury room for any reason. Very good. Mr. Bailey? Yes, sir.
For the record, Your Honor, we would ask, as jurors are brought in, we would ask that you ask them if they watched or heard anything this morning from their cell phone or other jurors about what occurred in here this morning with Juror Z. And if so, what was it?
I'm going to say, ask each one of them something about this. Whether it's exactly what you want, I don't know. But I will ask them something about this or make some direction to them about it. I'm not going to get into who shot John about what they said in that jury room today. I'm not going to do that. But I will try to, as best I can, deal with this question of who heard, of them hearing parts of the examination of Juror Z.
Your Honor, this morning, I think you already instructed them not to discuss these matters among themselves. So if they have violated that, again, I think it's important for you to make that inquiry.
I'm going to make it as I see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. All right. Bring me Juror C. C.
again, I know I would be mad. I served in a trial for 3 days, and that took a lot of time. I had to coordinate childcare. I don't have a typical job. I have more like a side hustle. I don't have to request time off. I don't lose pay. I mean, I don't, my side hustle is more like a hobby for me. I can't say that I really get paid from it. But I would be I would be infuriated at the other juror. They should have spoken up. And as much as I would have been afraid it would have caused a ruckus, I think I shared the story about the other juror during trial saying she was going to write down notes in the jury room and leave them in there. And I was like, nope, we were instructed not to. That can cause a mistrial, yada, yada. She did not wind up doing it because I kept harping on her. And then finally, some of my other jurors chimed in too. I was looking at the door, ready to go get the bailiff to tell on her. Sorry, you're not going to waste my time or those family members' time. Insane.
Protect the anonymity of the juries.
I don't know why they wouldn't have said anything when Judge Newman told them.
They spent seeing you all in the trial of the case that they won't figure out who is who. But on my record here, which is all I can control, I will address you as Juror C.
Yes, ma'am.
And before I begin, I understand that there may have been some cell phones activated in the jury room and the watching of the questioning of Juror Z. Did that take place?
I know people were on cell phones, but I'm not sure of what they were watching.
Were you on a telephone?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Very good. I don't think I have to go any further then. Thank you, sir. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2022. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. And the court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your hand. The transcript then indicated that the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear Becky Hill, clerk of court for Colleton County, make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No, ma'am. I wasn't privy to any of that.
All right, sir. Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023, influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Very good. That completes my questions. You may retire to the jury room.
Yeah, I don't see how he cannot get a new trial at this point. I mean, a juror said she was influenced by the clerk of court's comments. So, again, as much as I am severely pissed at the possibility, and it looks like a strong possibility that he would get another trial, if I were ever in a position where I had to defend myself, especially something I was innocent of, I would want, I mean, I don't think he's innocent, but I'm saying me. I would not. This can't happen. That's not a fair trial. But how do they prove that she said these things? I mean, it's just he said, she said. I know that they are going to, Becky Hill's going to testify, but I believe she also has the choice to plead the fifth. So this is an actual. Yeah, I know that's true. So I don't know how that has any influence on today. Stephen, our 16th juror here, reporting from the courthouse. I'm just kidding. Says, except the complaining juror was asked about influence on the day of rendering the verdict. Absolutely. Oh, you have not been paying attention to this? Well, hey, you got any questions? This is my jam. I don't know if I've seen you before, Stephen, but I live in South Carolina. I do not live near where the Murdaughs are from, but this has, I know other people that are my friends and watch me on here are probably sick of me saying this, but I've been following this story.
I have designated jurors by a letter. And
Since
that's how I will be addressing you this morning, and I will be addressing you as Juror F.
After
Now,
the shooting of Paul and Maggie, actually since the boat case, so.
And people may know who you are, despite my efforts to protect.
I'm just interested as a citizen of South Carolina.
I will protect this record and your anonymity as a juror in this record.
Resident?
I just wanted you to understand.
I'm not a citizen of South Carolina. That doesn't make sense.
F. This morning, it was brought to my attention that some jurors were perhaps on their phones listening or looking at a broadcast of the questions to the first juror I examined, Juror Z. Is that something that you know anything about or experienced?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you activate your own phone?
Another juror did.
All right. And will what you saw and what you looked at in any way affect your testimony as you're about to give it?
No, ma'am.
Very good. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court and signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hand. The transcript that indicates that the juror complied. The jury was individually polled and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Was your answer an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Absolutely.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No, ma'am.
Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way by any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
Absolutely not.
Very good. That's all the questions I have.
I'd like to discuss the matter with you before we finish with this.
You may go to your jury room and keep yourself ready. I don't know if I'm going to have any further questions, but as far as I'm concerned, the questions that I'm asking are at an end, but I need to consult with the attorneys before I can dismiss you. You may go to your jury room.
and not watch your phone and not talk to the other jurors about this. You can ask them how their day is.
Your Honor, in interviewing the clerk of court for Barnwell County, who
what they ate for breakfast,
Ms. Hill during this trial, and interviewing the alternate juror, who was not, wasn't needed, wasn't dismissed for any particular reason other than it wasn't needed. Both of them indicate they believe that Ms. Hill transported this juror by her personal vehicle or a bailiff's vehicle at least once during the trial. So I would ask you ask her, during the trial, did Becky Hill either drive or ride with you in a vehicle before or after court? If so, what, if anything, did Becky Hill and you discuss?
I'm sorry.
What's your position on that, Ms. Waters?
Your Honor, I have no objection.
I'm sorry. Say what?
Right. All right, bring the juror. This is juror C, returning to the stand.
I'm sorry. Say what? Am I hearing that? This can't
The
be
same
happening.
juror. Yes.
Okay, but best belief if he has another trial, I'm going to that one. I don't care. Again, I'm so super jealous that I was not there today. Did she say that they were in the car together today or during the trial? Either way.
Thank you, ma'am. She's still under oath. And I have this question for you. During the trial, did Becky Hill either drive or ride with you in a vehicle before or after court? If so, what, if anything, did Becky Hill and you discuss? Do you recall that at all?
Could you please ask that again?
Ma'am?
Could you please ask the question again?
Sure.
Sorry.
During the trial, did Becky Hill either drive or ride with you in a vehicle before or after court?
No, ma'am.
All right, then I don't need to ask the second question. This will conclude your testimony. You are dismissed. I'm going to ask the jurors to stay with me until I've completed this process, and then you are free to go. Thank you so much.
At least that didn't happen. Oh. So, little tidbit of information. Oh my gosh, you should. We would have a blast. Not at the trial, but other places. Plus, it's warm here and no snow. And when I say warm, I mean it's 50 degrees, so it's your kind of warm. And we're only like 2 hours from the Smoky Mountains.
L, as in Lima, yes.
Oh my. Can you imagine? Are they now going to ask every juror if she rode with them? Oh, my little tidbit of information. There, and I'm so mad it didn't happen, but about 20 minutes for me, the next town over in Pickens, South Carolina, Becky Hill was going to be doing a speaking engagement at the Pickens County Library for her book. And this was when the hearing, when there were accusations that she spoke with juror members, like she was still going through with it. And I was going to go. Because I'm like, what the heck? This is so stupid she would do this.
Thank you so much. I have
but it got canceled at the last minute.
Each of the jurors in the record for this case.
Because I guess her attorney caught wind of it and was like, no.
And you know, y'all were all on this jury. These people saw you for 6 weeks. They may know or be able to identify you, but I'm trying to, as best I can, protect your anonymity. You don't have to talk to anybody.
I don't think I would have asked your questions because I figure enough people would have. And I just wanted to watch her put her foot in her mouth. Is that bad? Like, I even said to my husband, like, I feel like this is wrong, but at the same time, like, if she's going to just do things to further incriminate herself or not, like, even if she's innocent, no.
Before you came to testify and were sworn, you were in the jury room with the other jurors. I understand that some may have looked at their cell phones and looked at pictures of the proceedings as they involved the first juror who was examined. Did you see any of that?
People had their phones out, yes, ma'am.
Did you look at any of it?
No, ma'am.
All right. And I don't need to ask you anything further about that. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury, and the court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was then individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? And each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, Madam Justice, yes.
Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes, Justice. Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear Becky Hill, the clerk of court for Colleton County, make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No, ma'am.
Was your verdict on March 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No, ma'am.
Very good. Juror L, thank you, and you are dismissed. I will send word back by the bailiff if there are any further questions. I always ask the lawyers that before I dismiss the juror completely and go to the next one. Please know that I will keep you in case there's anything I need to have the whole jury for at the end of this proceeding. Then you're free to go, and you don't have to speak to a soul about any of this. Thank you, sir.
I wonder if Becky will testify today. Let's see, what is that? 3 jurors, so technically
Anything further?
4.
Very good. All right, Mr. Bailiff. Bring me juror E.
So we're a little less than halfway through. Just the juror's testimony. If you hear loud noises like loud bangs and everything, there's someone doing construction near my house, so. Noam Stein. The forensic, the crime scene investigator, he also did a speaking engagement near here, but I was out of state at the time, and that made me mad. It just seems like everything in regards to this, I'm just not able to attend, and maybe that's for a reason. But I would have loved to hear what he had to say, not necessarily even in regard to the crime scene, just in general, like just forensic crime scene investigation.
Interesting. A lengthy period of time, 6 weeks or better, and people may know who you are. but to the extent I can make this record that protects your anonymity, I am doing that. You don't have to speak to a soul about this matter after you're finished, and your service will be complete, as I'm sure you thought it would be when you rendered your verdict. I have these questions. You rendered a verdict. Oh, yes. It was brought to my attention that cell phones of the jurors were accessed in the jury room for a time, and that some were able to examine the broadcast of the testimony of the first juror called Juror Z. Was your cell phone one of those activated to look at the proceedings?
No, ma'am.
Did you look at the proceedings on any other cell phone?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Now, you rendered your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The jury then said, the court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? And each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
It was.
Was your verdict based entirely upon the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No.
Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No.
Thank you, sir. That completes my questions. You may go to the jury room. I always consult with the lawyers to see if there are any further questions. If there are not, please stay with the jury until I dismiss all of you. I'm hoping that won't be too much longer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Anything from the state? And from the defendant? Very good. Bring me juror P as in Paul. Yeah.
I just typed this, but I'll go ahead and ask you. I was talking about the question where she asked when you were polled after the verdict was read, is this your verdict? Is it only your verdict? Is it still your verdict? I don't remember her asking that for juror Z, but I'm not sure. A lot has happened since then, so I don't know. And again, like Stephen said earlier, I wonder how that goes into play with this. Like you.
Good morning. Good morning. I will be addressing you as juror.
I mean, they weren't sworn in.
I tried to redesignate the jurors.
So maybe that's different because they are now.
Of course, without their name. Now, I realize
maybe one carries more weight than the other. I
don't
know how that works.
And many people may know who you are anyway. But to the extent that I can make this record such that it protects your anonymity, I'm going to do that.
Yes.
And you certainly are not obligated to talk with one soul about this matter.
No, what's happened? Court TV, what happened?
Did you have your cell phone?
No, ma'am.
Did you examine any cell phone broadcasts?
There was a couple people, but I have no clue what they were viewing.
Yes, sir. Okay. Did any of this activity by other people in viewing this material have any impact on you in terms of your testimony today?
No, ma'am.
All right. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? And each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
It was.
Did you hear Becky Hill, clerk of court for Clarendon County, make any comment about this case before your verdict?
I did. Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
It was the day that Mr. Murdaugh was taking the stand.
Yes, sir.
And she made a comment about watch his body language.
About watch his
body language.
His body language, I see.
Yes, ma'am.
And what else?
That's all I can recall.
All right, sir. Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No.
All right. That completes my questions, Juror E. Or P. Juror P. You may go to your jury room. You are free to refuse to discuss this with anybody. That's your prerogative. You're not required to talk about this anymore. That's your business. I've tried to do the best I could to confine this thing, but I appreciate your service. Thank you, sir, and you may go to your jury room.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm extremely interested how she's going to rule on this. I feel like either way, I'm going to be mad.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
I'm disappointed.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Bring me Juror O.
Because again, I don't see how I feel like it's going to cause issue for future trials in our state that anyone, especially another public servant, can make comments about the trial. It's just going to be a free-for-all to me that permits that to happen. And again, I've only been a juror on one trial, and it was a trial for a violent crime, and it wasn't this long, and it wasn't national news. And we were literally told we can't even talk about what anybody in the courtroom is wearing. We could not discuss anything happening during trial in the courtroom. Nothing.
Designated the jurors by letter in this record so as to try to protect your anonymity as best I can. Now, I realize you sat on this case.
Absolutely. And that's another reason why I'm so interested in this. Because it's affecting
the record of this matter
so much in our state.
Identity from
we're under a microscope with ourselves, and I think it was needed. I'm so sorry for all of those who have passed that brought light to these issues, but I'm so glad that the issues are being discussed and investigated.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you activate your cell phone?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you watch any of the other cell phones?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Very good. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, "Is that still your verdict?" And each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Right. Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this matter?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Very good. That concludes my questions. You may return to your jury room. I ask that you stay until I've completed the questioning of the jurors. You don't have to talk to a soul about this matter. It's purely your prerogative. And if you have any difficulties in that matter, let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
You are excused.
Very quickly, I think question 2. I don't know that we did question 2.
Resume your seat. Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Very good. You're excused. Thank you, Mr. Waters.
This juror's voice sounded very familiar from somebody who someone who gave an interview.
Bring me juror Y.
That's all I'm going to slide.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. All right. Nothing further, Mr. Waters. Thank you.
That is my stomach growling. I don't know if you can hear that. You're welcome. Wow, that was, yeah, okay, awkward. That was not, that was the construction nearby. Yeah, I don't know what you can hear and what you can't. Sorry for your earballs. This is again. What do you guys think? Do you think that
Good morning, sir.
them being polled would carry more weight? Their answer when they were polled carry more weight than their testimony today?
Preserve your anonymity in this record. Now, I know that you sat on this case for 6 weeks.
Either one is not true. Either the day that they were polled, they weren't telling the truth, or today they're not telling the truth. But at least for juror Z.
I have tried to do so.
Pardon me, juror Z.
Completely free not to talk to a soul about this matter. That's always your prerogative. I understand that before you came out here, when the first juror to be examined was being examined, that some jurors may have activated their cell phones. Were you one who activated your cell phone?
No, ma'am.
Were you aware that some cell phones might have been activated?
I was aware after that.
All right, so did you hear anything about the examination of the first juror?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? And each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
Not to me, ma'am.
Did you hear her make a comment to anybody else?
Not that I'm aware, ma'am.
All right, sir. So you don't remember any details of any conversation?
No, ma'am.
All right, sir. Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way by any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. That completes my questions. I'm going to excuse you. Stay together with the other jurors until I've completed my examination, and then you will be free to go. Thank you so much. Anything further from the state? From the defense?
I thought very similarly to what Steven says, especially like it was going on during the trial that the dismisser, the quote unquote egg lady, whether or not she was a plant from the defense. That's what was being discussed. That was not my opinion, but you know, it just seems like the timing of this is kind of suspicious. Although I do have to say in defense of the juror that Jersey, like, with the world looking at you in that moment, if you did feel influenced, would you want to sit there and say? Also, maybe a juror was unaware that those kind of comments were not supposed to be said from the clerk of court. Maybe they thought as someone who worked at the courthouse would know what they could or couldn't say.
I'll address you as Juror W. I have redesignated by letter the identities of the jurors as I question them today.
Yes, ma'am.
And you know, you sat on this jury for 6 long weeks, and I'm sure that those who were there in the trial for a long period of time may know who you are. Mm-hmm. I'm just doing the very best I can to make your participation in this matter anonymous, and I will preserve that anonymity. You are free to not talk to one single soul about this if you don't want to. That's purely your prerogative.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that when the first juror was being questioned, some members of the jury, as you were back in the jury room, may have activated their cell phones. Were you one who activated your cell phone?
No, ma'am. I left my phone in the car.
And did you hear any information coming from anybody else's cell phones about that examination?
I did.
All right. Does that have any impact on the testimony you are going to give today?
No, ma'am.
Very good. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill, the clerk of court for Clarendon County, make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No, ma'am.
Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023, influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this matter?
No, ma'am.
Very good. That is the end of my questions, Madam Juror. You may go to the jury room, stay with the jury until I've completed the questioning, and then you're free to go and you're free not to say anything you don't want to say. And if anybody upsets you or bothers you in any way about that, you just let the court know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was I'm eating a snack. So
Any further questions? Any further questions? Very good. All right. Bring me your cue.
Now this seems to be speeding along. There are no more theatrics. I'm sure there will be more theatrics toward the end, especially if the judge's decision does not go how our Putlian sees fit. And quite frankly, because it's Harpootlian. He likes theatrics. He has literally said that. During the trial, there was a news article that came out from like years past that an interview where he was saying, yeah, courtroom's about theatrics.
Do you swear
I'll do what I can.
Good morning. I will be referring to you as Juror Q. I have redesignated every one of the jurors by a letter. And in that way, I'm trying to protect your anonymity in these proceedings. Now, I realize that you spent 6 long weeks hearing this case in open court in Colleton County. And some folk may know who you are, but I'm trying to protect your anonymity in these proceedings as best I can. You don't have to speak to a soul about these proceedings after you have completed your testimony. That's purely up to you. And if anybody hassles you about anything, the court stands ready to assist. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
About your verdict at the time?
Yes.
All right. Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes, it was.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No, ma'am.
Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023 influenced in any way with any communication by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Very good. You may be excused, and if you'll just stay in the jury room till we've completed examination of all the jurors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, very briefly, I know we were doing the cell phone inquiry.
Yes.
With various jurors.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanted to have that with this particular juror as well.
Sure. I understand that before I began questioning you or the other jurors, on the questioning of the first jurors, some jurors in the assembly room may have activated their cell phones. Were you one of the jurors that activated your cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And was
we found the culprit
that you heard at that time something that has any influence or effect on the testimony you now give under oath?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Anything further? You may go to the jury room.
Shame. Shame. Just kidding.
For the state.
For the state.
Nothing, Your Honor. Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Bring me juror K.
Again, I can understand why they were allowed to have their cell phones in the jury room, but like, what? I think it could have gone without saying you're not supposed to sit there and watch the testimony, you know? Again, they're witnesses, not jurors, so you can sit there and mess around on your cell phone until you have to be called up, but surely you're not watching the testimony. That's insane.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in
That's the word of the day, by the way. Insane.
So help you God? Yes. Thank you.
Literally anything else. Stephen, I can't believe you did that.
Good morning. I will be addressing you as Juror K. I redesignated each of you jurors and gave you a letter for purposes of this hearing. I'm trying to protect your anonymity as best I can. Now, I realize you sat for 6 long weeks on this case in Carleton County, and many folk may know who you are. But on the record of this matter, as best I can, I'm trying to preserve your anonymity. Please know that you don't have to answer anybody's questions about this matter in any way, shape, or form, purely up to you. And if anything is done that you feel is harassing or makes you uncomfortable, you contact the court. We'll try to do as best I can to help in that situation.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I understand that during the testimony of the first juror, some opened their cell phones in the jury room, in our jury assembly room here. Were you one who opened her cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you listen to the or watch the broadcast of that first juror's examination?
We were on Facebook.
Ma'am?
I was on Facebook.
It was on Facebook, and you watched it.
And we closed it.
All right. Did anything that you heard in that Facebook cell phone access impact or influence your testimony in this matter in any way?
No.
All right. You rendered a verdict on March the 2nd, 2023. The verdict was read in open court, signed by the foreperson of the jury. The court then said, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is your verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hand. The transcript then indicates the jurors complied. The jury was individually polled, and each was asked, was that your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Each juror was then asked, is that still your verdict? Each juror answered yes. Was that an accurate answer about your verdict at that time?
Yes.
Was your verdict based entirely on the testimony, evidence, and law presented to you in this case?
Yes.
Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill, the clerk of court for Carleton County, make any comment about this case before your verdict?
No.
Was your verdict on March the 2nd, 2023, influenced in any way with any communications by the clerk of court, Becky Hill, in this case?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. That completes my questions. I'll let you go to the jury room now. I'll then ask the attorneys whether there are any further questions. If there are not, please just stay in the jury assembly room until I give you the word that you are all to come out one more time, and I dismiss you. Thank you, ma'am.
I want to play devil's advocate, and like I've had time to calm down since the first juror, Juror Z, said something that they were influenced by Becky Hill's.
For the state.
Nothing to the bench.
Very good. Very good. All right. This then completes the questioning of the jurors. I will ask the jurors to come into the open courtroom again, thank them and dismiss them. Anything further before I do that?
None from state, Your Honor.
Please report, Your Honor. I would move for the record that I be able to question Juror Z to follow up on what I believe the court is confused about.
Very good. I deny the request. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, bring me the jury.
I really lost my train of thought on that one, but I just want to say, like, again, the amount of pressure that juror must be under, and even to say something today, again, maybe they didn't know that the comments, the clerk of court, she did make them, was making them inappropriately. Is that the right word for that? And if it did influence them, which only they can say, wish they would have said it when they were polled. However, what bravery or cojones it takes to sit up there today, again with the world watching.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that completes the court's examination
And
of the
saying
jurors
that
in this matter. I can only deeply apologize to
she
you
influenced my decision.
inconvenienced you so long after the trial of this case to come here, and I very much appreciate your candor. There are no right or wrong answers to the questions I asked you, but I think each of you, to the best of your ability, answered the questions, and I am deeply grateful for that, as is the state of South Carolina, as is the defendant. You don't have to speak to a soul about this matter if you don't want to. That's purely your prerogative. If there's any difficulty you encounter about this hearing that I can help with, please contact the court, and I'll be happy to do so. You're dismissed this time. You may go. Thank you for your service. Excuse the jurors.
Wonder if there's going to be any jury quibbling with the jurors. Oh man. I wonder what's going to happen next. If that alone is going to be enough for there to be another trial. I'm assuming she kind of has to.
All right, Mr. Waters, is the
Question.
clerk of court available?
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am. My understanding she is, and state's prepared to call her when the court is ready.
All right.
But she, I believe she's at a location. Mr. Lewis is here, just a block or two away. So if we take a brief recess, we'd be prepared to present her after that.
Well, I will entertain going on and taking an early lunch break. I don't know how long Ms. Hill's testimony is going to take, but if that might be a better thing than hanging around here, I think that's what I would prefer to do, Mr. Harper.
Your Honor, I need sustenance.
Okay. Well, good.
Oh, Lord.
I think I will join you in that. What I will do is I will recess court until 1:15. Please return at 1:15.
It's kind of a brief. And again, I so very much wish that I was down there. I would be seeing if I could. No, that sounds stalkerish. And not the jurors, but like, oh man, what would it be to run into wherever Harpoot Lamb was going to lunch, or Creighton Waters, or I'm sure they probably know places that are less populated in Columbia to go. Maybe I keep my eye out on where the reporters were going for lunch, but yeah. I wish I was there. And this is like the only day of the week that I pretty much couldn't go. Giving them time to organize the witnesses' thoughts. Oh, for Becky Hill? Man. What do you guys think in regard to the juror Z today saying that they were influenced by Becky's comments? So much time has gone by. I thought there was protocol for how long after the trial they can bring something like this up, like 10 or 15 days, I think. But at the same time, should there be a time limit on something like that? I would like to think if there was jury tampering, there shouldn't be a time limit on that. But at the same token, I guess there has to be a full stop to something like that. There has to be an end result, because this could be going on and on forever. Like, 20 years later, remember when they I saw a Post-it note on a desk that said something, and I happened to glean by it. I don't know, at what point is it fair for seeking justice for truths like this to come out, and then when is it too muddy of waters and it shouldn't? I'm still pretty annoyed and kind of pissed that the juror didn't say something when they were polled. But I also feel for them that if that is what they were going through and had conflicted feelings, that to be under that scrutiny, to have the courage to say something when Judge Newman was polled, when literally the world was watching, or at least our country was. The country was watching for sure. And then you're in that small county where so many things seem to have occurred that may or may not be by the book. They're saying something now, so I just wonder why now and why not then. I'm trying to just not play Monday morning quarterback and say, well, I would have said something. Why didn't they say something then? Maybe it's easier for me. I'm a little bit more comfortable with standing up for myself or what I think is right, even if people are going to be upset by that. Not always. And who knows what I would have done under that type of pressure. I don't know. And again, why say something now? If you're gonna, if it's the truth, you should, right? But at the same time, I don't know, the timing seems suspicious. Like, now there is less pressure. How did this even come to anyone's attention? Was it Harpootlian and Griffin, who were going around speaking to jurors after, and they said, yeah, the clerk of court said these things. And if so, how influenced was this juror to say something to them and not feel pressured? Because I'm sure they're like, now if something like that happened, they would need a new trial. And if this were you and you were innocent, wouldn't you want a new trial? Like, I wonder how much of the timing of this is going to determine what the judge will rule. And again, when it came to the juror being polled, they weren't sworn in. They weren't under oath, to the best of my knowledge. So today they are. Does one questioning carry more weight than the other? Just because they said during that polling at the trial, no, I wasn't influenced. Yes, this is my verdict and my verdict alone. Do those two conflicting statements from that day to what they testified to today, what do you do with that information? And yes, Nikki, 2 of the jurors did say that they were on their cell phone. I believe only one stated that they were actually watching the hearing, if I understood that correctly. Stephen says, it takes nerve to stand away from the crowd. It also takes nerve to make stuff up and testify. True. But some people are able to lie and not be bothered by it. That is very true. I mean, like I said, it either is a lot of bravery or some really big balls to be able, to be able to say it up there today. If they are lying today, that's some incredibly large testicles, even if it is a chick. Yeah. And at some point, they were not telling the truth. So it was either when they were polled or it was today. And that's the only time that I wish that both the state and the defense could question the jurors today. I feel like that has to be taken into account in regards to whether or not there is another trial, because out of all the jurors that were just questioned, only one today said that they were influenced by Becky Hill's comments. Now, I don't know that we know about the juror that answered questions on Friday. I'm sure now that there are reports about what they said and whether or not it matches anyone else's testimony. But without knowing what was said on Friday, so far today, only one juror has said. So that doesn't carry as much weight to me for this to seem like accurate information. Just that one. Well, actually, it kind of does, because other people did say they heard her say, watch his body language. However, Justice Toll did say it's not just the fact that she said something about the trial. That, from my understanding, from the conference that was held last week about the hearing today, that the defense not only had to prove that something was said about the trial to the jurors, but it had to be proven that the jurors were influenced by what she said. So I don't really know how this is going to go. All right, so it's 11:58 here. Justice said that they will be back at 1:15. I'm going to get off here for now, perhaps get something to eat. 1:15. So I may, at some point, I have to pick up my children. And there may be some point, I will get back on here at 1:15, but there may be some point where I just stick to streaming this and maybe I can like text and comment, but I may not be speaking on here. It normally takes me about an hour-ish to get the kids and stuff, so I'll play it by ear. We'll see. I'll definitely be on here at 1:15. So I'll go with that. Thank you guys for being here. Always like interacting with people as I watch things instead of just talking to myself. I definitely don't do that. No, not at all. I'm totally safe. All right, guys. See you around 1:15.